Welcome in, guys. It's Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to do episode 14 of the Big Blue HoopsCast, and it's March. Welcome in, guys. It is Brad with College SportsCast. I've got John Hammonds here with me. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
We're here to do the Big Blue HoopsCast. This is episode 14. It is March 3rd. I am headed to the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament in a couple of days and look forward to that excitement over the next week. John, it's March. It's time to heat things up for
it is.
All of basketball.
It's one of those times of the month that you want to be playing your best basketball, and right now I think it's kind of a two-feather cap. You know, you got the women playing at a really good level right now, but you got the men that are struggling a little bit. Which I said,
yeah, we'll get to that.
Because I said that earlier.
It is.
This past year that I thought the women would outdo the men in terms of records and SEC. So,
right. All right. We're recording this episode. This is a little bit earlier in the day. So if you are with us tonight, this episode is recorded. So we are doing this a little earlier. John's going to go to a high school region basketball tournament tonight. So we are recording this a little bit earlier in the day. Just want to throw that out there. If you're on Facebook with us, we appreciate you. You can subscribe to our page for 99 cents a month, and we always start out with that. You can also send stars. It helps us to earn a little money to keep making these content for you and to cover all of this and do all this. And we appreciate Kentucky being a part of College SportsCast here, and appreciate getting to go to places like the SEC Women's Tournament in Greenville, South Carolina, and go to games and do things for you guys. Also, we are part of Stadium Rant. Want to throw that in right off the top. Stadium Rant is going with me down to Greenville, and we're going to be doing stuff kind of combined and together. So I want to put that out there as well. We appreciate Stadium Rant as well. So, John, doing a lot of writing for Stadium Rant as well. So it's kind of a team thing here.
I kind of slacked off last couple of weeks. I kind of went downhill a little bit, but you've outdone me a little bit. But I'm going to get back to it here probably today, sometime later this evening. So.
All right, John. So we are going to start out with the men. We are going to start talking about the men today. The women have an exciting week coming up, so we're going to start out with the men. I am going to start with Oweh's performance at Oklahoma. We have not had a Big Blue HoopsCast, since last week. So Oweh had a spectacular, really individual performance against his old school.
He did. I think, was it the last 20, 21 points was from Ortega. He just put the team on his back, and he just willed them to a win. There was a couple times in the game where I felt like Oklahoma had kind of a stranglehold on the game. They was up 5 with 8-9 minutes to go. Everything was clicking. Kentucky was kind of falling back on their heels, and all of a sudden, Oweh just puts it in overdrive and basically just wheels Kentucky to a win. And not only that,
he carried us at the end.
Oh, he did. And not only that, I felt like it was just a personal thing too. Like it was personal to him. He played at Oklahoma. He spent 2 years at Oklahoma.
2 years at Oklahoma.
And there was a lot of jawing back and forth between him and Jalen Moore a lot during the game. There was a lot of jawing during this game. And I felt like
ex-teammate, by the way.
And then you had the little scuffle at the end of the game with Brandon Garrison that could have cost us the game.
All right, so I'm going to show some highlights here.
If we had not been careful.
Who is from Oklahoma City and played at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I mean, there was some talk there at the end. If it hadn't been for the buzzer, they might have, put a technical foul on Garrison at the end of that game, which definitely would have cost us the game if that would have happened. Yeah. All right, I am going to show some highlights of Oweh here from the Oklahoma game. His best performance as a Cat, he had 28 points and 21 of the last 23.
Out deep on the left, 6 to shoot. Oweh spins into the lane with a right-hand runner. Good off the glass.
He's got to feel really good, Tom.
And he got fouled. Oweh no good. He's got it again. Goes up and scores.
Way to work, young fella. Way to work.
Are posting up now. Oweh gets into the lane. Left-hand layup. Good.
Now that is the break.
Right side to Oweh for an open three. Got it.
And that's what I'm talking about with Ortega. Let the game come to you.
Into the lane. Goes up with a jump hook. Good.
He's
4 for the game. Oweh headed the other way with a right-hand runner that goes in. He quickly answers. A run out going the other way. He'll dunk it and tie it at 71. Out to Oweh. Oweh spins down the lane. Banks it in. Got fouled. Count it.
Wow. He's got a little bit of confidence now on that end of the floor.
Oweh spins baseline, goes up and dunks it, and a foul.
Just a man-sized move right there.
Fouls on Goodine. Hiss.
All right, guys, that was a little bit of the highlights from Oweh at Oklahoma. John, he had some spectacular highlights. He had a couple of spins there, man, that was just fantastic.
He did.
A dunk and a spin and a spin down the lane, off of the, opposite foot and jumping and off the backboard and drew the foul. I mean, just amazing.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 there. And then the final play where they was trying to get the ball to Oweh because you basically knew who the ball was going to. It wasn't going to nobody else except Ortega. He was going to take this game over and win this game for him. And the way he shot the last shot, he had to throw it like a little bit over his head to put it in the goal.
Yeah, he was kind of past the goal and had to kind
of toss it
behind his head.
If he misses that, Oklahoma probably wins this basketball game. They probably go down and shoot free throws and win this game. But great
Unless
win.
We get a tip in or something.
Or a tip in or something, yeah. Then they went down in Oklahoma. Jeremiah Fears, they blocked the shot, and then they had the little extracurricular, like you said, that could have cost us the game, but it didn't. We won. It was a big win. Oklahoma has had games where they've let games like this slip away. They had one Saturday against Ole Miss where they was ahead by, I think, 2, and Ole Miss won it in the last seconds. But overall, like I said, great win for the Cats. Then we had to come home and play the number 1 team in the country, and did not go like we thought
for the Cats.
Yeah,
it was a much needed win for the Cats, to be quite honest with you.
It was.
Butler come back. Robinson actually played in this game, and we will get to more about Robinson in a couple of topics here. But Butler did come back in this game, fouled out with like 8 minutes to go or something in this Oklahoma game. And that's part of the reason why I think Oweh had to carry us down the stretch because we really just didn't have a whole lot of options that night. Not too many. We only had 2 players in double figures, and that was Oweh and Brandon Garrison. Nobody else was really playing great. We had, Brea had 3 3-pointers, but he only had 9 points. So, I mean, nobody else was really playing great in this game. And they basically said, Oweh, when Butler fouled out, Pope basically just looked at him and said, "This is your game. Take it. We're gonna let you lead us." And he led us to the win. So I mean,
Big,
you got to give him his flowers on that game.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, John, we're going to move to Auburn. And this game was not real pretty, in the first half. Let's just be honest. Now, me and you talked. I mean, the second half, Kentucky stayed with them. We were down 15 at halftime. We lost the game by 16. It was a pretty even game after halftime. It was really the first half where we lost contact with Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Kelly had 17 points in the first half. He had 5 threes. 2 of those were bank threes. He helped create a real edge early. Sorry, that's my dog. He tried to create an edge early. Yeah. They went on to lead at halftime 49-34. He finished with 30 points. Now, I will say they did it all without Janai Broome. He had one of the worst games of the year, I thought. He only finished with 9 points. Didn't score his first point until 2-minute mark in the first half. He was never really –
I think he only had 5 or 6 rebounds too, which
he was never really – he was never really able to get like a rhythm, but it didn't really matter. The backcourt won this game. Chad Baker-Mazara had, I think, 21-20.
And Pettiford had a big game.
Pettiford had a big game. Kelly had a big game. And this was a SEC clinching win for Auburn. They win the SEC, the regular season conference championship. They beat Ole Miss by 30.
I've been saying all year long that Auburn I thought was the best team in the SEC, but I'm going to do 2 things here. I'm going to talk about how good they are, but then at the end here, I've got the disrespect thing on here, and we're going to talk about what I'm talking about. But Auburn is a damn good team, all right? I've been saying that all year long. And, John, it's impressive to go through this SEC. This SEC is tough. To go through with 1 loss is pretty damn. I mean, it's amazing to be honest.
And that 1 loss was Florida, which Florida is a really, really good team. A team Kentucky beat. What was it? First game of the SEC schedule. So I mean, a really good Florida team come in there and they was hot, and Auburn kind of missed some shots. Here's the thing about Auburn.
Only have that 1 loss is like, I mean, look at Alabama. Look at Tennessee. They got 5. I mean, to only have that 1 loss in the SEC, this team is damn good.
I'm going to tell you what separates Auburn from a lot of teams. Their depth. They got guys they can just throw at you off the bench. And it's just, they got so many guys.
I mean, he's a McDonald's All-American. He comes off the bench.
They can just throw stuff at you. Miles Kelly was doing things that I've not seen done in quite a while. Like, he was throwing up shots. 2 of them, like I said, got banked in. Pettiford hit some big shots. Chad Baker-Mazara hit some shots.
He's not going to have a game quite like that again, probably.
No, most likely not. But
not throwing.
Here's the thing that is encouraging, though, Brad.
Bank shots from 3-point land. That's not happening.
Here's the most encouraging thing about this game. Kentucky out-rebounded Auburn. What was it? 32, I think, to 21. I mentioned that to you this morning. If they don't get a couple of those bank shots and they don't get a couple of those threes that they hit, this is a single-digit game before halftime. And Kentucky's at least got a shot. But what Kentucky did that really upset me was first half there was no effort. They was throwing the ball away. They looked lackadaisical. They looked like they wasn't ready to play. Looked like they had just been told that Jaxson Robinson was out for the year. Basically what?
I kind of think that might have been what it was. I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of think that might have been what it was.
because you watched the halftime speech. You look at the pregame speech. There was just no. It's like they were deflated. And in the Auburn,
I think.
Well, and you look at the Bruce Pearl,
but I think. Yeah, I mean, I get you, but I think that part of that was the Jaxson Robinson news. I really do.
He's one of their leaders.
So
he's their second best scorer on the team. Like, I mean, I get it. It's a big loss.
Yeah, it is deflating. So, I mean, there is a reason for that, is what I'm saying. Now, they did play that way. Especially with the number one team coming to Rupp, I mean, to be down a little bit doesn't look good, okay? But when you losing one of your best players in March, it's a tough blow. I mean, it is a tough blow. All right. Let's get to there's a couple of players from Kentucky that I want to get to, and this is a highlight of Kobe Brea. Kobe Brea had 21 points, and I thought he played really well against Auburn. So here's one quick highlight.
To take the first opportunity. Jani Broome is still scoring. Kobe Brea is not. Bruce Pearl calls the time.
That was one of the only bright spots in the first half.
I
we
think
cut it
that
to
was
6 there. Kobe.
I think that was the 24-18 where they cut to 24-18 real quick there. And Bruce Pearl caught a timeout.
Yeah, it was. I think that was 27-21, to be honest, I think. And I believe. We cut it to 6, and that's one of the few highlights there in the first half. But I want to bring it up because Kobe Brea is a shooter. He had 4 or 5 threes. He had 21 points. But in that play, I love that he, caught it out there, took it down, took it to the rim, and dunked the damn ball with 2 hands. For me, I really liked that play. I think sometimes we don't go to the rim with power outside of Oweh, and I kind of like to see that on that play.
Well, and another one was Amari Williams. He literally won the matchup against Jani Broome. He had 14 rebounds.
He did.
Points. He had 7 assists. This stat line was so impressive that you would have thought that Kentucky would have won this game with that kind of stat line.
Yeah, and then you look at Carr. Carr had 20 points and played really well in the second half. Really well.
My biggest issue was 18 turnovers. You just simply can't do that
the
against
turnovers was a lot, and I'll tell you something else that I talked to you about yesterday. We basically got nothing from the bench.
I'm going to say, I'll say this real quick.
With a minute or two to go, we had 2 points from the bench all game long.
With March Madness coming up, Brad, if Kentucky don't take better care of the basketball, they won't be in the tournament very long. These good teams, even some of these mid majors, they're going to take advantage of that stuff, and you're going to have to be on your P's and Q's. And even in these tournament settings, guys like Trent Noah, Travis Perry, even Chandler, if it's just playing defense, Noah's going to have to hit some shots, and Perry's going to have to hit a couple threes.
They're going to have to hit a few shots. Noah's been off the last 4 or 5 games. He hasn't been hitting any shots. He's getting more playing time. He hasn't been hitting any shots. And he's going to have to hit some shots if Kentucky's going to do something, especially with this news.
I will say
Jaxson Robinson is out.
I will say Kobe Brea is kind of heating up a little bit. He might be on a little tear here. Hopefully, these next couple of weeks he can.
I want to talk real quick. 2 things. I had disrespect on here from Auburn, and then also have Pope's handling of injuries. A few times this year. Brought Butler back. Butler got re-injured. Brought Jaxson Robinson back. Jaxson Robinson got re-injured. Brought Carr back earlier and then had to sit out another game or two because of his back. My issue, and I know a lot's been going on and a lot's been said about Pope. Listen, I love Pope. Injuries are a thing. It matters. It takes teams down slopes that you don't want to go. I am high on Pope. Pope's got a good class coming in. There's no reason to bash somebody whatsoever. However, to have a good debate here, did Pope handle these injuries like he should have?
I don't know.
That's the one thing I would say.
Yes and no. I think Jaxson was a little bit different. I think he wanted to come back for the Oklahoma game. I think that was all Jaxson, in my opinion. Now, the Butler
he's from
injuries.
Oklahoma.
Well, he's from Oklahoma. Probably wanted to play.
He's from Ada, Oklahoma.
I get it. You know, he wants to get back out there and get kind of back in the rhythm of the game and figure things out. And Butler the same way. But if you can hold them out a little bit longer, I say LSU, maybe Missouri. You probably more.
I'm saying this: if you're bringing guys back and they're only at say 80%, but they want to play, but you're bringing them back at 80 or 85%, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should wait till they're 90, 95, 100%, before you bring them back. My guess, John, is that he's bringing these kids back because they want to come back at 80%, 75, 80%.
Well, and I think, too, another aspect of this is Butler's shoulder's not going to be healthy until after the season. According to some, it's looking like surgery.
Well, Butler right now himself has said he's only 85 or 90%.
And the thing is, if it's requiring surgery, he's not going to be healthy regardless.
Right. And he's wearing a brace. And I get it, but I'm just saying, if you're bringing these kids back because they want to play, if they're a ball player, they should want to play, okay?
Yeah,
if you're bringing them back because you want to play at 75 or 80%, maybe as a coach, you should be saying, okay, let's wait for another week and see where we're at.
I would have probably waited till LSU, to be honest. I would have let them just figure things out with the Oklahoma game.
He was born in Ada, Oklahoma. He's from there. His family wanted to see him come play. I get it. However, now they got to see a first half at Oklahoma, and he's done for the year.
Yeah, it's
hard to pay sometimes.
Not great. And I just want to say this about Jaxson real quick before we get off here. I hate it for him. I do. Senior night is tomorrow night against LSU. They said he's going to walk. It's going to be a very emotional moment for that kid, because that kid, all he wanted to do was play, and he wanted to be there for his team and for his season to be cut short, and for him to be the final piece to Pope's puzzle, for the transfer portal, for them to get their final piece. He was the final piece for their shooting. And see it fall apart for him is absolutely brutal. And our prayers up for Jaxson and his family.
It's brutal for him. It's brutal for the team. It's brutal for the fans. Let's just be honest. Now, the disrespect that I have on here, I got to say something, man. I knew you was getting ready to do that. I can't go and talk about this without saying it, okay? So the behavior after the win at Rupp for this Auburn team, for the players, and what was allowed to happen by Coach Pearl, okay? And I'm not even, if you don't know, go look it up. I'm not even going to talk about what actually happened, because I think it is absolutely immature as hell, okay? I'm not even going to talk about it. Here's what I want to say. I coached middle school kids, 13-year-olds, in AAU ball. And I promise you one damn thing. I would have never allowed 13-year-old immature kids to behave that way. I'm telling you, not even at their own. I mean, this is AAU is not at a home venue or anything. Okay, I would never allow my kids to behave that way.
And
now,
for those wondering, I'm
doing
it
at Rupp, and these are 25-year-old men behaving this way.
I want to say what Brad won't say. For those that don't know, Auburn got a belt out of the crowd and was slapping the floor with it, acting like they was whipping Kentucky's tail. That was basically what it was.
Belt to
AWS, basically.
Yeah.
Janai Broom was part of it. Pettiford was a part of it.
I'm telling you, man, the disrespect. And then on top of that, these kids are acting like they're suddenly the end all of college basketball. I hate to tell you guys, but it only took you 40 damn years to win a game in Rupp. That's it. Just 40 years. I mean, act like a decent, respectful human being. I would not let 13-year-olds behave that way as a coach.
Well,
and Bruce Pearl, I'm going to tell you straight to your damn face if I get a chance. I'm disappointed in your ass. And I mean it. 100%. And if I get a chance to tell you to your face, I swear I will. 100%.
And I'm going to say this real quick, and we'll move on to the women. The thing about it is, Brad, with this whole Auburn thing, I even had a comment. I told you about this comment. I had mentioned something. I had posted a picture of it or a video of it. It was a video. And said something about this is a very disrespectful thing. And somebody said, well, if you don't stop it, win, because you're not a blue blood anymore.
We only won for 40 straight years. You won one. Congratulations. Finally, you won one. You hadn't won one in 20 damn tries in Rupp Arena. I mean, good grief, people. Get a grip. For real. All right. LSU and Missouri this week, John. LSU's a huge game. Senior night tomorrow at home. LSU's not a great team. Senior night this week, we got to have this win.
I think I'll be honest, you probably need to whip LSU 20 plus. It needs to be a good old fashioned out behind the barn, just tethered.
We go to Missouri, John, and Missouri's kind of faltered the last week or two.
Yeah, they ain't playing good. You could sneak up and win these two. You might get a 6 seed, and you're still in play for a 5, basically. But there's a lot of tie breaking scenarios there, so I don't really know the whole details. But if you win 2 of these,
but this is 2 big games and bounce backs. From not only from the loss, but it felt like Kentucky took 2 losses on Saturday with the Jaxson Robinson news.
Well, and then they had the TV go out in the middle of the night, in the middle of the game, late in the game.
Well,
television.
I think somebody at Kentucky burnt some bridges there. I'm just going to say it.
Somebody actually said this was true that in the ABC, what was it? In the truck,
his ABC generator
caught
on fire or something. It caught on fire. Quotes.
Oh man!
Yeah, it caught on fire. Yeah.
I believe people was tired of watching Kentucky get whipped like that, and they just said, "Let's just push forward."
Somebody at Rupp was like, "Look, we're done with this. we're not going to show Kentucky getting beat. I'm telling you, it caught on fire.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, SEC NCAA tournament. I mean, with Jaxson Robinson out, guys, it's that's why I say
tough.
Trent Noah's got to step up, hit some shots. It's going to be tough.
I'm just going to give you where I think they end up. SEC tournament, I think they get to the quarterfinals and they lose. I think they win one game at the SEC. I think they beat either Mississippi State or South Carolina in that first game. And I think they ultimately lose to Auburn in the quarterfinals. Now, tournament, it depends on the draw, whether they get a 4 or 3 seed.
I would love to get out of the first weekend, but, man, it's going to be tough.
I think they'll get to the Sweet 16, but I think that's pretty much where they'll stop. But they'll get to the Sweet 16, I think. I think they're going to play hard. I think they're going to get better. I think they're going to come together for Jackson. I really do. I think Kentucky's got one more run in them. I do. I just think, we got to see it. But I think there's one more run in them, and hopefully it's to the Sweet 16.
All right, guys, we're going to switch this up and talk about the girls. And we are going to, the girls have a big week coming up, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, John, they had a big week this past week.
They did. Beat Tennessee.
Kentucky played Tennessee and South Carolina. And, John, on Thursday night, Kentucky handed the Tennessee Lady Vols their worst loss ever to the Kentucky Wildcats.
And Tennessee, after the game, decided, hey, we'll lose to Georgia on Sunday. And now they're kind of falling apart. So
they are.
I think
Kentucky might have broken. Before this game, John, people were putting them in the top 10. People were giving them a 3 seed. I mean, in the NCAA tournament, I mean, people thought they had a real chance at the 4 seed. And before this game, there was some real – Lady Vols were the hot topic. And now all of a sudden –
Now they're edging on that 5-6 range. Tennessee is now. Kentucky's probably looking at a 4 or 3 now.
John, I was there at one point in this game in the late third, early fourth. We had a 35-point lead against the Lady Vols in this game.
Yeah, it was impressive. Clara Strack had a big night. I thought all ship involved had a big night on the I call it the Kenny Brooks ship. They stay tight together, and they played really hard all year. They've had some games where they didn't play that great. The A&M game where they had a lead and they blew it, and A&M won. The Ole Miss game. There's a couple games with the Missouri game where they struggled, but they ended up coming back to finally put it away. But it seems like Kentucky's finally getting it together. They beat Tennessee. They come back Sunday and absolutely played their guts out against South Carolina. Played one and was right in the game to the fourth quarter.
Yeah. You was talking about Clara Strack in this game, John. I've got some highlights here of Clara. She was perfect. And after this highlight, we will talk a little bit about her. But enjoy this highlight, guys.
More right-hand dribble, fakes the 3, passes to Strack. Open 10-footer, good off the left elbow. Dribble, draws a double team, finds Strack up the floor, wide open for a right side layup. Lawrence gets the trailer Strack upstairs. Strack driving right on Hollingshed. Down to the low block, fadeaway 15-footer is good off the right side. To Hassett, right wing Strack, a turnaround 3-ball, yes! Out to Strack with 5 to shoot. Strack against Hollingshed. Under the basket, reverse layup, good. Strack into the lane, comes out on the right, spins, puts up the shot, and it bounces in off the left iron. Finds Strack wide open under the basket for a left-hand layup. 15 for Strack, driving to the right, dumping down low, Strack layup, good. Another assist for Lawrence. Entry pass to Strack down low, right side against Darby. Strack spins, a 5-footer good over Darby. 19 for Strack. Amor double teamed, cross court pass to Lawrence on the right wing. Feeds Strack running the.
All right, guys, that was Clara Strack in the Tennessee game on Thursday.
That pull up J was just impressive. Like the backwards J, like, whew, that was pretty neat.
She was amazing. She had a perfect night, and by perfect night, she was 11 for 11 from the field. Had 23 points, 15 points. She was 1 for 1 from 3-point land, splashed it as well from the outside. She was amazing, really dominant. She helped dominate Tennessee down low and out. Like I said, she stepped out, hit 15-footers, hit a 3-pointer, and hit everything that she put up.
Yeah, she had a big night for the Cats. To go along with, Georgia Moore and that team, they've persevered all year long. They've went through some tough games, but they're finally starting to figure it out here late in the year.
All right, a couple more highlights real quick on the Tennessee game. So this one is Teonni Key. She grabs it off the boards, and another time here. We've talked about her on HoopsCast a few times, going coast to coast. This is Teonni Key against Tennessee, going coast to coast.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like
Jaxson Lawrence. Oh my goodness.
Teonni Key rips it away. That was Boyd with the miss. Key brings it up herself, right side, pursued by Puckett. Key going all the way to the basket, lays it in down the left side. Out left side, Amor for 3. No, rebounded by Key. Key powers it back up and lays it in. 8 under control. Key driving to the basket, lays it in left side on a nice move in the high post. Open for 3. In and out. Rebounded by Key. Key left hand layup good. Key will take the pass top of the arc. Key driving left, goes around Spearman and lays it in. Here's Cooper pushing tempo ahead to Puckett in the lane. Puckett shot rejected by Key. Lawrence near sideline. Lawrence lobs to Key. Left side layup answers. 18 for Key, 65-39.
All right, guys, that was Teonni Key. A little more highlights there, but it shows her going coast to coast. And then she had a really good game against Tennessee as well. 18 points, I think, like 8 boards, somewhere around there on Thursday night. But between her and Strack, they dominated down low. I do have one more quick highlight. You got to give Dazia Lawrence a little bit of love. She wound up, I think, with 13 points. But she had a move, a step back crossover kind of move the other night that kind of even made the players go, oh, wow. So I got to show this.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like
Jaxson Lawrence. Oh my goodness. Georgia Amor is running down the floor with her hand over her mouth. Yeah, Shania Taylor said, oh, okay.
Got to give a little bit of love to Dazia here on the show. She had a fantastic move there. Like I said, they're even talking about it on the broadcast. They're like, "Oh, Georgia's covered her mouth," and
most likely her mother will be watching later on.
Yeah. Her mom watches the show some and comments here. So got to give a little love to Dazia. She was dropping it right there, man, against Tennessee, and had a good complimentary night. Like I said, I think she had about 13 points against Tennessee the other night, and a big win. So, all right. So let's move on to South Carolina. South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina yesterday. The girls fought, man. I mean, they played. It was a 1-point game with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. They cut it twice to 1 point, 63-62. They cut it to 65-64. And then the last 5-6 minutes, South Carolina turned on the defense, created some turnovers, outscored us 13-2 the last 4 or 5 minutes. But I think Kentucky proved in Columbia at the Colonial Life Arena that they're the real deal.
They are. They are what they are. They're really good defensively. Pow, Bo Wiley, Joyce Edwards,
Chloe Kitts, Tessa Johnson had a big game yesterday.
Sanoa Fagan. Like, this whole team just exemplifies who Don Staley is as a coach. They got so many McDonald's All-Americans. They throw them in and out off the bench. They are who they are, Brad.
They're the only team, men's or women's, that I know of, John, that's got 3 or 4 McDonald's All-Americans sitting on the bench.
Well, and just because they've lost to UConn and a few teams, Texas, doesn't change the fact that they're going to be in the hunt for the Final Four and the national championship. They lost some key games. And lost one that normally they don't
3 games, but all three teams that beat them are in the top 5.
Yeah, so basically it kind of ends out. So
UCLA, Texas, and UConn are in the top 5. And by the way, they beat Texas by 20 points or 18 points at home.
But at the end of the day, Brad, the women played their guts out. South Carolina put the D on them late in the game. They made some shots, and Kentucky just could not. And
Clara Strack had another big game. She had 23 points, 8 rebounds yesterday afternoon versus the South Carolina Gamecocks. Chloe Kitts, Fagan.
And by the way, Kentucky just moved up 3 spots to 12th in the women's.
They did. I was going to get to that. You're right.
Yeah.
Clara Strack had another big game yesterday against, as far as talent-wise, I think the best team in the land, overall talent. Now, whether or not they have the size, and I have said that all year here at College SportsCast, whether or not South Carolina has the size this year to do it is another thing. But talent-wise, I think they have the best talent in the land. Here is a quick clip of Clara Strack yesterday.
Still awaiting the under 5 media timeout. And you can feel the exhaustion sets in this time of year in the final day of the regular season. Inside, and a great finish from Strack.
And the men dropped to 19th. So while we're on it, they dropped 2 spots.
Okay. All right. So yesterday, Clara again had 23 points. I mean, she's dominated against some of the best competition. And I'm going to be honest with you, John. Tomorrow, the women's SEC awards are going to be announced. Clara Strack deserves to be on one of the all-SEC teams. I don't care. I know Georgia Amore, I feel like will be. I've got to put it out there. Clara Strack deserves to be at least on the second team. There's a first team and a second team. She's been dynamite and dominant down the stretch against Tennessee, against South Carolina. These are not easy teams to do that. And she's been dominant.
Yeah, and now they're going into the home stretch with the ACC tournament coming up. You'll be there this week. They play at 2:30 on Friday Eastern time. I'm guessing that's 1:30 Central. Since it's in Greenville, South Carolina. So fun day of hoops. I think we play the winner at Oklahoma and.
Well, yeah, Oklahoma will be in it, and then the other team will either be Arkansas or Georgia.
Yeah. So, And then Kentucky would have to play most likely South Carolina again, which I would give Kentucky a little chance, especially on a neutral floor. When it comes to that, because we've seen
quite be neutral.
Well, I mean,
South Carolina. This is in Greenville,
Yeah.
South Carolina. They bring the
neutral.
crowd. It won't quite be neutral.
It won't be neutral, but in regular terms, it'll be neutral from a.
It'll look like a neutral court when you're looking at it on paper, but I was there last year. I haven't ever seen a crowd at a women's game like I have at Bond Secure Wellness Center last year, Wellness Arena at the SEC tournament. When they beat Tennessee at LSU, the crowds there were amazing. For South Carolina,
Did they feed you good down there?
They did. They got good food there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky, Kenny Brooks, first season, locked up a 4 seed bye in the SEC tournament. Guys, I don't know if you realize how tough that is, but with the likes of Texas and South Carolina and LSU and Oklahoma and Ole Miss and Alabama and Tennessee and, but with the likes of all of that bunch, you got Vandy down there with Blakes and Pierre. I mean, for Kentucky to lock up a 4 seed in his first season, 22-6, 11-5 in the SEC, it's pretty astonishing, to be honest.
Well, and think about this, Brad. The 1 seed is South Carolina because they got it via a coin flip, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But besides the point,
they did.
Texas
is a co-champ.
Texas is 2. LSU is 3, right?
Yeah.
And Kentucky is 4. And listen ahead of those teams. Who would have thought back in August when we was talking about this, early July?
Yeah.
That Kentucky would be in the mix with Texas, South Carolina, and LSU.
I mean, it really is remarkable. Listen, Georgia Amore and Clara Strack coming over with Kenny was vital for this team. Absolutely vital. They've been the dominant force with Kenny on this team. Now, Teonni Key and Amelia Hassett and Deja Lawrence are great pieces to go with them. I'm not knocking them whatsoever because they are great pieces to go with them. But without Georgia Amore coming with Kenny and Clara Strack coming with Kenny, Kentucky would have a struggle, even if they got Deja Lawrence and Teonni Key and a couple of,
they needed that one point guard that could just lead them,
And that 1-2 punch from point guard to center and having a 6'5" center that can step out, hit 15 threes this season. I mean, in the women's game, guys, it's different than the men's game. In the women's game, for your 6'5" center to step out and hit 15 threes in a season.
Pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive, man. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot in the women's game. You might see some stretch 3s or stretch 4s every now and then on some of these teams, but you don't see too many 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" centers stepping out and shooting a 3.
And I guess we'll go on to their outlook. I think they'll go.
Let's talk about the SEC tournament a little bit. I mean, just the SEC tournament to start with. And, I get to go. It's going to be a great time. I had a great time last year. I will never forget some of the memories I had there with Tennessee and Camila Cardoso banking in a 3 to win that game against Tennessee, knocking them out. They thought the game was over. It was like 2.1 seconds on the clock and stuff. And then the LSU and South Carolina game and the stuff that happened in the brawl that broke out and the intensity of that game, I'll never forget it. And this week I get to go back. South Carolina is just about as good LSU's going to be going without – I mean, she's going to be there, but Flau'jae Johnson was announced yesterday. She's not playing. Kim Mulkey, she is sitting out. So that's going to make a difference for LSU, I feel like. Oklahoma is coming on at the right time. They have not lost since Kentucky beat them. They've won 7 in a row. Oklahoma seems to really be they were a preseason top 10, top 12 team. They're back there right now, top 10 or top 12 after Kentucky beat them the last time.
Then you have Vanderbilt with the 2 fresh Michaela Blakes.
And the sophomore, Pierre.
I think those 2 can light up a scoreboard, and then you got a team like
Alabama's
Missouri.
got 3 guards with Barker, Nye, and Green that are just playing spectacular. They just beat LSU with Flau'jae.
Well, and I tell you, and you got that sleeper. You got that sleeper pick with Missouri because they've had games where they've just let leads slip away, and Missouri could be a team that could surprise some folks in the tournament and knock off maybe.
And then Georgia knocks off Tennessee yesterday, and now you're thinking, Georgia's got 2 or 3 players that are good players. They just hadn't put it together this year, and now you're thinking, well, could Georgia make some noise?
Could. But I think it's going to be tough going up against the likes of Kentucky and South Carolina and what they got. I mean, it's going to be tough. Now, do I think they'll get past Arkansas? Yes. Arkansas is not real good.
And then they'll probably match up with Oklahoma if they beat Arkansas, or they will match up with Oklahoma.
I feel for Higginbot. She's on a horrible team and one of the best players in the SEC.
That's where she wanted to be. She grew up in Arkansas, and she loves Arkansas. So
she does.
She wanted to wear that uniform.
That's most important, though. But it's just been a tough season for them as a whole.
All right, John. Kentucky, are going to be matching up most likely with Oklahoma.
Yep.
In the quarterfinals. We beat Oklahoma in Norman, had like a 17-point lead. They made it like a 9-point game at the end of the game there, but we still beat them almost double digits in Norman, which they hardly ever lose in Norman, to be quite honest. They have a very good team. Peyton Van Hurst, Reagan Beers. Do you think we can knock them off a second time?
I do. Tough. I think we can, and I think we're going to play for the semifinals of the SEC tournament. I think that's where it ends. I do think, we're going to
most likely we'll be playing South Carolina if that's the case.
Most likely. I'd rather match up with South Carolina than I would Texas. I don't think we match up good with Texas as good. Texas is a little bit
Texas size.
It's their size
to match up with. Yeah,
it's the size. Yeah, and then from there,
big girls.
I think Kentucky ends up with 3 seed.
They have one. They have a 6'9" girl, John, that sits on the bench that never takes her warm up off, and she's 6'9", by the way.
Yeah. And Oldacre is really, really good. From there, I think tournament wise, I think you're probably going to see a 3 seed, at worst a 4. I think
we're a 3 seed. I think Kentucky should be a 3 seed. I really do.
I think
Charlie
Kentucky's ceiling, their floor is probably Sweet 16. Their ceiling is probably Elite 8. If I had to guess.
I mean, that's where that's where the level head in me says is Sweet 16 and Elite 8. That's where I think, especially Sweet 16, if we get the first 2 games at home, which I think we should. We get those, I think we will and should make the Sweet 16. The Elite 8, I think we can get there. Depends on if we get a 3 or a 4 seed. I think it's going to depend if we get a 3 or 4 seed.
But it's going to be tough because those 1 seeds are really, really good this year.
That's why I said it's going to depend if it's a 3 or 4 seed. If it's a 4 seed, It's going to be tough. If it's a
gonna be
3
really
seed, I think we could match up with a UConn or an LSU or that's a possible 2 seed. I think we could match up and maybe beat them and get to the Elite Eight.
But I'll say this,
You
as a whole, I hope both the men and the women get out of the first weekend, and more so the men. And I wanted to kind of bring this back up because, Cal, the last 5-6 years, I know everybody don't like to hear his name being called. It's been miserable in Lexington in March. And there's a lot of pressure involved in this. A lot of it's on Pope, and it's not fair to Pope because if Pope loses out of the first weekend, everybody's going to blame Pope for a lot of this, and a lot of that is not on him. It's because of the last couple of years, 3-4 years. But it's going to be a stain.
it's true, but
on his whole
we
career.
all wanted. Listen, I want out of that first weekend just as bad as everybody else does. Just to be honest, you're right. March has been miserable for Kentucky fans in the last 5 years.
Women too, because the women haven't been there recently. Probably since what?
Yep.
The year they won the SEC.
I'm going to be honest with you, John. I'm going to enjoy March. I have decided I'm going to enjoy March either way. I think the women have a really good chance of playing in the second weekend. And I think the women showed yesterday, if we get the right draw at the right neutral site at the right time, I think down the stretch with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, whether we're playing UCLA or whether we're playing South Carolina or somebody, we could have a chance and maybe get to a Final Four.
I'm going to tell you, and A. Moore has a lot to do with that. Clara Strack. On the men's side, it's more so Toby Brea.
Moore's been there before. Y'all remember A. Moore carried them before to not Kentucky, Virginia Tech, and Kenny Brooks. She was the lead guard, the point guard in 2023, and she carried them to the Final Four. She's done it before. She can do it again.
There's 3 people on the men's side. I said the women, but there's 3 people on the men's side that have to be, I wouldn't say semi-good or halfway, but they're going to have to play. One of them is Lamont Butler. You agree with that?
Yeah.
2 is Andrew Carr. Andrew Carr's got to play big in some of these games. Now, he played good the other night, 20 points. And then the third one, I told you earlier, Colby Brea. He's going to have to go off. Go off.
I'll tell you what Butler's going to have to do, and I don't really think it's so much points. Butler's going to have to play great defense, and he's going to have to cut out, and I think part of this is his shoulder. He's going to have to cut out the sloppy turnovers.
That's a lot of it because it's so heavy on his shoulder, like it's knocking his rhythm out. That's what it's doing.
He's got to cut out those sloppy turnovers because I think there's been a few games where he cost us the Vanderbilt game.
Well, he missed
first one, I thought.
2 or 3 layups in the Auburn game.
Yeah. He
missed 1 or 2, and then Oweh missed 1. Oweh didn't play good. He was in foul trouble all night. So
he was in foul trouble again. The 2 games that he hadn't played good, he was in foul trouble. Oweh had 3 fouls before halftime.
Yeah. Great show, Brad. Tomorrow night we'll have another show, but the rest of the week I'm not real sure on. Brad is going to be gone.
Catch us on Facebook because if I don't do shows, I'm probably going to do like some nightly lives or something on Facebook, just to do an update, a daily update at the SEC tournament or something. So if you're on Facebook with us, you'll be able to see some stuff.
Be ready for tomorrow night. Brad's got a big topic about a certain team that was ugly Saturday afternoon. And I'm not even going to mention who that was, but just leave it at that.
Glad it wasn't us. That's all I'm going to say.
That'll be one of the topics tomorrow night. So just
all these Kentucky fans complaining. All these Kentucky fans been complaining the last 2 days. I don't know if y'all saw it, but something out there could have very easily been us. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Oh, Brad.
All right, guys.
Coming in hot off the stove, buddy.
I could have very easily been us. I'm
Yep.
just saying.
Very
All
easy.
right, guys. This has been College SportsCast, Big Blue HoopsCast, episode 14.
And I guarantee the moment we say this, Clyde will be jumping on here and he'll tell you exactly who it is. You know how Clyde is. Clyde will be ready to rumble tonight.
All right. So if you've been watching this, I said it at the beginning. This is recorded. We recorded this earlier in the day. I did say that at the beginning. This is not live. So if you've been commenting on it and we haven't said anything or responded or whatever, this has not been live for you guys. We recorded this earlier in the day.
Deja Lawrence's mom. I hope she realizes that it's recorded because she thinks that we're with
normally we do a live show, but
yeah.
So I will have an SEC women's basketball tournament article coming out probably later today. Check it out. I've got a tribute to March Madness. John's going to have some new stuff coming out.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, later this week, check out my SEC women's updates at the SEC. I'm going to do a daily update article.
I'm actually going to do a SEC tournament article probably Saturday after all the games get done, when the brackets get set and stuff. And I was going to kind of talk about it next week.
So join us with Stadium Rant. We appreciate Stadium Rant, and we're going to call it a night. And y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a good one, y'all.
Have a good night, guys.